Chapter 12. Nancy's Big Break. Bryn was correct when she said Mr. Mike, Gina's dad, could keep a secret. It was kind of scary, though. He seemed to thrive on furtive acts. He met Nancy in New Orleans one Monday morning at a fancy restaurant, where the two of them met with two men and a lady from Hollywood. Many people who worked at the restaurant knew Mr. Mike by face, but they didn't get his name right. They consistently and confidently referred to him as Jim. Nancy wondered if he had been there before, perhaps with a rendezvous, several rendezvous, or something like that. At first, she thought they may be mistaking him for someone else, but he knew them by name too. He also seemed quite proud that they all knew him. But Nan had to keep her mind on the subject at hand for now. The three folks from Hollywood were waiting for them at a table. The lady was the famous actress Nina Lemieux. She was a highly revered A-list actress who had starred in dozens of award-winning movies. Nina Lemieux was not the prettiest of actresses, but glamour oozed from her like sparkle from the smile and scepter of a newly crowned young queen. One would think that long, bony fingers may be unattractive to most people's liking, but her hands were exquisite, graceful, and feminine. The fingernails were perfectly manicured, unpolished, and buffed to a shine. The hands showed no sign that they had ever worked at anything, ever. Their smoothness was unmatched. Her eyes were kind and forgiving. Her voice was euphonious and demure. When she spoke, you listened. She had a commanding presence that was powerful and decisive. Nina Lemieux had a strong character and was well respected. You could tell that immediately just from her appearance. Ms. Lemieux had seen Nancy's work at a hair show and craved to have Nan as her personal hairstylist. There was an uncanny similarity between Nina Lemieux's taste and Nan's way of styling hair. One of the men with Miss Lemieux was her manager, Herbert, and the other was the director of hair, makeup, and wardrobe at the studio where Miss Lemieux was under contract. His name was Salvador. The director guy, Sal, led the meeting with a fast, excitable demeanor. Conversationally, he was the controlling type who guided the discussion in the direction in which he wanted it to go most of the time, and his clean-shaven, double chin wiggled just a little when he spoke. Nancy, Miss Lemieux is most attracted to your work, and she wants you to style her for the next 2 films. She's under contract for a picture this upcoming spring and another the following summer. Are you ready to start? Whoa, buddy, Mr. Mike interrupted. This is supposed to be a meeting. Decisions don't necessarily have to be made today. We will need a contract to read and sign, potentially sign, that is. Herbert, Miss Lemieux's manager, said nothing the entire time. He had ordered a shrimp cocktail upon being seated and had just started eating his second order when he let out the smallest of burps, and all eyes descended upon him. Pardon me, Herbert said. He was also smacking, loudly, and sucked his fingers each time they acquired juiciness, but offered no conversational input at all. Mr. Mike and Nancy would be distracted by Herbert periodically and turn their faces toward him to satisfy the curiosity of what the sounds were that were coming from his vicinity. Don't mind him. He's my manager and my husband. He basically comes along to watch and eat. Miss Lemieux laughed as she side-eyed her husbander, Herbert. Except for the way he presented himself at the table, he was quite an attractive man, a good-looking man with terrible table manners. Looking at Mr. Mike, Miss Lemieux said, "I found the girl, Nancy, at the hair show here in New Orleans, and I certainly love her work for myself. If she signs, she will be under contract on the movie set for my hair, primarily. I would like to offer her a sweet deal. My contract with the studio ends after only 2 more films." Lemieux stated as she then turned her face in the direction of Salvador. "Nancy gets to stay on after my retirement, but only if she wants to." Nina glanced at Nan, turning back to Sal. "Write the contract in her favor, Sal. Make sure she gets well compensated and well taken care of. Understand?" Miss Lemieux lifted her eyebrows and bent the corner of her mouth upward. The ashtray on the table was a tiny decorative one, flat and sort of fancy. Sal had filled the ashtray with cigarette ashes and butts and summoned for the waitress to empty it and bring him a clean one. The ashes on the cigarette hanging from his mouth were threatening to fall to the table at any second. Not bothering to remove the cigarette to speak, Sal said, "I've got a contract already drawn up." Nancy could not focus on the words coming from his mouth due to the distraction of her anticipation of the fall of the ashes onto the crisp white tablecloth. She considered how still the cigarette was as it stuck to the man's lip. The more the lip moved, the jigglier his heavy neck became. Sal continued, "We can make changes and initial it, or I can send another copy to your attorney here." Mr. Mike mumbled sarcastically, "Can't wait to read that contract." Then he said in his normal voice, "Make sure you send a contract you truly believe I'll let her sign. No slick tricks." Nancy made note as the waitress swooped in like a superhero just in time to provide a proper landing pad for the ash tube when it fell from its burning cigarette. Sal, lighting a brand new cigarette, acknowledged that he would be careful to favor Nancy in the contract. Ms. Lemieux told Mr. Mike and Nancy, "I'll read it before they send it to you in order to make sure it's a good one. I also promise I won't let my husband put his shrimp cocktail hands on it." She grinned as she acknowledged her husband's presence. Nancy wondered if Nina Lemieux and her husband's relationship was that comical and light-hearted all the time. Herbert licked cocktail sauce from the side of his hand, starting at his wrist and ending at the tip of his pinky, with a vibrant smile of complete culinary satisfaction.